All right, let's pull back the curtain on your social media feed. We're going to get into the hidden engine that doesn't just show you content, it's actually shaping what you see, what you think, and even what you do online. Let's dive right in. You know that feeling, right? You pick up your phone for just a second, and then suddenly an hour is just gone. You feel like just stuck in this loop you can't seem to escape. Well, what if I told you that feeling isn't some random accident? Exactly. That feeling of being hooked, it isn't a flaw in the system at all. It is the system, and it's working exactly as designed. And its design is so powerful that it does way more than just show you the world. It's actively building the world you see. Just let that sink in for a minute. Your feed isn't just a window to what's happening. It's a world built specifically for you, a world that learns from your every move in order to shape your next one. And this creates this incredibly powerful, self-sustaining cycle. And that brings us to our big idea today, the Ouroboros. You've probably seen this ancient symbol before, a serpent, a dragon, eating its own tail. It's honestly the perfect way to understand social media right now. It's a closed system that literally feeds on itself to survive, creating this eternal, inescapable loop. So, how in the world did this digital serpent come to life? In this first part, we're going to look at how social media evolved from just being simple websites into these complex, self-sustaining ecosystems that act, well, almost like they're alive. The key idea here is a concept from biology called autopoiesis. Think about a living cell. It's constantly working to produce and maintain itself, just to survive. Well, social media platforms now do the exact same thing, but digitally. They don't just host our stuff anymore. They use our posts, our interactions, to generate new interactions, creating a system that feeds itself to stay alive and grow. So if it's a living thing, what does this digital organism eat? Well, it eats our attention. This is the engine of what's called surveillance capitalism. Every single like, every share, every second you pause on a video, that's not just data. It's what the system calls behavioral surplus. It's kind of like the digital exhaust fumes of our online lives, which the machine then vacuums up and uses as fuel to predict and ultimately to steer our future behavior. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of how this serpent actually feeds itself. We're going to break down the core mechanics of this loop and really see how it traps both us, the users, and the content we see in its cycle. Now this is the perfect picture of that feedback cycle. It all starts with you, your clicks, your views, that's the input. The platform's algorithm then spits out your feed as the output. But here's the crucial part. That output then directly influences your very next action, which becomes fresh, new input for the system. The serpent eats its own tail, and with every cycle, the loop just gets tighter and more predictive. This chart really maps out our whole journey online. We started with a pretty open internet. That was Web 1.0. Then Web 2.0 came along with likes and shares, creating feedback loops that led to things like filter bubbles. But now we're on the verge of something called autopoietic closure. This is where AI-generated content is being made for other AIs to consume, creating an internet that's just feeding on itself. And the big danger here is what's called model collapse. Imagine making a photocopy of a photocopy over and over again. After a while, the image just turns into meaningless noise. That's the risk, an internet that becomes totally detached from human reality. So who actually lives inside this system? It's not just us and the algorithm. There are a bunch of key actors, both human and non-human, and each one plays a critical role in keeping this whole loop spinning. Let's take influencers, for example. As you can see here, there's a really clear trade-off. You've got your micro-influencers who build this deep, authentic trust within their niche communities. They're like local hubs. Then you have the macro-influencers who trade that personal connection for massive scale, acting more like giant broadcast towers. And both are super important for how ideas and culture spread through the system. This table kind of breaks down all the key parts. Let's just focus on two. First, there's you, the user. You're constantly walking this tightrope between being authentic and, performing for an audience. And second, you've got the algorithm. It's a true non-human actor in this whole ecosystem. Its only goal is to optimize for engagement, which by its very nature creates biases in the reality it decides to show you. Now, let's talk about the two powerful engines that make this cycle feel so impossible to escape. One is biological, and it's hardwired right into our brains. The other is algorithmic, and it's running on massive servers somewhere. This is the biological engine.
Social media is literally engineered like a slot machine to hijack your brain's reward system. It starts with a cue. Maybe you're bored or have a little FOMO. Your action is to open the app. Then comes the variable reward, that unpredictable like or that perfect video that gives you a little hit of dopamine. Finally, you make an investment by posting again, which just strengthens the habit and keeps you coming back for more.
And it's not just our behavior that's in a loop. The content itself follows this predictable, almost biological life cycle. A trend starts small, in some niche community. The algorithm spots it, and bam, it goes viral. Then it mutates as everyone puts their own spin on it, until finally it's so overused it just becomes cringe. And here is the absolutely mind-blowing part. The system has gotten so fast that AI can now predict this entire viral life cycle almost instantly. It can spot a trend's viral signature within just minutes of it being posted, deciding right then and there whether to boost it to the moon or just let it die. The serpent is getting smarter and smarter. So now that we kind of understand the anatomy of this digital serpent, how it thinks, how it feeds, how it grows, we get to the most important question of all. Can we actually tame this thing? Or are we just destined to be consumed by our own creation? While the good news is we're not totally powerless. A systems theorist named Donella Meadows identified what she called leverage points. These are places in a complex system where a small shift can cause big changes. So instead of just tweaking little things, we can actually intervene at a much deeper level by changing the fundamental goals of the system itself. And this really lays out the stark choice we have in front of us. We can keep going down this path, this degenerative loop that's driven by addiction and profit, where humans are just the raw material. That road leads to an internet of pure AI noise. Or we can choose a regenerative spiral, one that's actually driven by human values, where technology helps us flourish, and where we remain a human in the loop. So, the Ouroboros, this digital serpent, it's already here. It's coiled inside our phones, and it's inside our minds. The only question left is the one we all have to answer for ourselves. Are we going to learn to be its master, or are we going to end up its meal?